November 9th, 2002, Josh Guimond, a 22-year-old college student from St. John's University in Collegeville, Minnesota, left a college party on campus and was never seen again. Over 20 years later, the circumstances of his disappearance still baffle his family, friends, and authorities, who to this day continue to search for answers on what truly happened that fateful night. Josh was born on June 18, 1982, and was the only child of Brian and Lisa, growing up in Maple Lake, Minnesota. Josh was known for his sense of humor, as well as being described as a motivated, kind, and intelligent kid who was a valedictorian of his graduating class at Maple Lake High School in the year 2000. With an interest in politics and law, Josh was planning to go to law school after college and then move on to elective office. After graduating high school, Josh attended the all-male St. John's University in Collegeville, Minnesota, and was joined by his high school girlfriend Katie, who attended the nearby all-female college of St. Benedict. Although they were two separate campuses, they were a joint college which allowed Josh and Katie to have classes together before eventually breaking up in the summer of 2002, however remaining as friends. In the fall of 2002, Josh, now a junior and studying politics, was living in a 4-story on-campus apartment building with his friend and co-captain of the debate team, Nick, who was in his senior year. Saturday, November 9th, 2002 began as just a normal day. Josh and Nick went out to brunch together, and during the afternoon, Josh spent time back in his dorm room working on a research paper. Later that day, Katie asked the both of them if they wanted to go meet up with her and her friends later on. While Nick agreed to, Josh indicated he would be going out to a friend's poker party later that evening. At around 5 p.m., Nick and Josh went to dinner with friends. After that, another friend, Alex, stopped by the apartment to hang out with Josh, listening to music and drinking beer. At around 7 p.m., Nick informed Josh he was leaving to go to Katie's and left the apartment, and that would be the last time he saw Josh again. At around 10 p.m., another friend, Greg, stopped by the apartment and joined Josh and Alex, and roughly an hour later, together, taking the 5-minute walk from Josh's apartment, located in the central part of campus, to the nearby Medin Court apartments, where another friend, Nate, was hosting a poker party with a group of a dozen or so. Both apartments are separated by a lake, which prevents people traveling directly to both buildings, so individuals must cross over a bridge that is part of St. John's Road. Josh and his friends Greg and Alex arrived to the party between 11:15 p.m. and 11:30. Witnesses observed Josh playing cards, having a few drinks, all while being in a good mood and acting normal. Between 11:45 p.m. and midnight, Josh got up from the table and left without saying anything. Some would later state he was not dressed well for the cold weather that evening. Josh's friend Greg believed he was simply going to the bathroom, as both the apartment's front door and bathroom door were in the same direction. 15 minutes had passed, and with Josh still gone, his friends assumed he had returned back to his dorm room. Some even tried calling his room, and after he did not answer, they assumed he had fallen asleep. The last reported sighting of Josh was walking on a path close to the Medin Court apartments, heading in the direction back to his own apartment. Later during the course of the investigation, 2 witnesses, both college students, stated that between 12:15 and 12:30 a.m., they were walking on St. John's Road towards the Medin Court apartments when they got to the bridge, and they noticed an individual that matched Josh's overall physical description walking past them. As the witnesses continued to walk towards the apartments, they looked back a second time, only to discover the individual had vanished. The witnesses also stated they did not see any other people or cars nearby. Back at Nick and Josh's place, Nick arrived home close to 3 a.m. to discover Josh was still not in his room. He noticed Josh's computer was still on. Assuming he was still at the party, Nick went to sleep. The next morning, Nick woke to discover Josh had still not returned to the apartment and discovered his AOL Instant Messenger had been idle for over 12 hours. Nick also spoke to friends Alex and Greg, who were with Josh that night before, and neither of them knew where he was at. Suspicions only grew when Josh missed a 2:30 p.m. mock trial meeting on November 10th. Shortly thereafter, Nick reached out to Katie, who confirmed she had not seen or heard from Josh as well, and believed that was out of character for him. At 4:20 p.m. on November 10th, Josh's friends reported him missing to campus security, and a subsequent search of the campus was conducted. Later that evening, school officials notified Josh's parents of the situation, and shortly before midnight, roughly 24 hours after Josh went missing, the police were notified of the situation and arrived on campus to begin their own search. Several hours later, Josh's parents arrived on campus themselves. However, law enforcement did not lock down his room following a search inside for a possible disturbance. Authorities found nothing out of place while locating and examining several of his belongings, including a wallet, passport, car keys, and glasses. Authorities brought a tracking dog in during the first hours of the investigation, and the dog tracked Josh's scent to the bridge next to the lake between Josh's apartment and where he was last seen. It was around the middle of the bridge where the dog lost the scent, leading authorities to believe he got into a vehicle on the bridge or ended up in the lake below. However, the lake sits around 10 feet away from the bridge, which made it unlikely for him to fall directly into it, which questioned the theory of him accidentally falling into the water. By Monday the 11th, multiple agencies led by the County Sheriff's Department became involved in the search, including the FBI and over 100 National Guard members, along with volunteers who searched a 16 square mile area around the campus in the following days with no signs of Josh. Horses were also brought in for the search, and helicopters used imaging in and around the campus grounds. Around this time, concern grew even more as two other college students, less than 200 miles of each other, had also gone missing under mysterious circumstances, with some to believe the three were in fact connected. Less than 2 weeks before, Christopher Jenkins, a student at the University of Minnesota, went missing, last seen leaving a bar in Minneapolis in the early morning hours of November 1st, while Michael Knoll, a student at the University of Wisconsin, disappeared on November 6th after celebrating his birthday at a bar. In February 2003, Jenkins was discovered in the Mississippi River, with authorities classifying it as an apparent drowning and closing the case the following year. However, 2 years later, authorities reopened the case and classified it as a homicide, with no charges ever being filed, despite police presenting the name of a possible suspect to county prosecutors. Meanwhile, Michael Knoll was found in a lake in March of 2003, with authorities not suspecting foul play. Meanwhile, as the investigation into Josh's disappearance continued, it was discovered several days after Josh went missing, someone deleted files off his computer, installed an internet washer and file compression software, allowing them to delete internet files from the computer's hard drive, as well as a USB device being connected to the computer. With the authorities not having sealed off the room previously, it's unknown exactly who was on his computer between the time of his disappearance and the retrieval of the computer by authorities. In December 2002, Josh's family brought in Penny Bell and her bloodhound Hoover to continue with the search. However, this caused some controversy as some authorities questioned Bell's methods and track record. Josh's dad, however, defended her and the use of the bloodhound. During the search, the dog traced Josh's scent from the Medencourt apartments, where Josh was last seen, then to his own apartment, then to St. John's Abbey on the campus grounds, and the frozen lake behind the Abbey. When the dog began to detect a scent inside the Abbey in or near non-public areas, the request for the dog to search inside was denied. However, later authorities were allowed to search inside with the dog, and while a scent was detected inside, no further evidence was found. The lake behind the Abbey was also searched again with nothing found, and authorities remained skeptical of the dog conducting the search, citing the lack of training and certification. The following spring, as the ice thawed and temperatures warmed up, authorities began searching the water on multiple occasions, using divers and sonar equipment. Josh's dad himself even searched the waters around the college in a kayak. However, nothing was ever discovered, and in May 2003 the lake was searched again, which resulted in no new developments, after which time authorities concluded that Josh was in fact not in the water. As the years went on, multiple theories began to emerge on what truly happened to Josh on that cold night in early November 2002. Some looked at the roommate Nick after allegations him and Josh got into an argument over Nick seeing Josh's ex-girlfriend Katie, also with the exact time frame of his whereabouts that evening, were called into question. Nick told investigators he left Katie's apartment at around 2:30 a.m. However, Katie stated he left around 1 or 1:30 a.m., with keycard records showing him keying into his apartment at 2:42 a.m. In 2008, with technology improving compared to 2003, the authorities once again began looking into Josh's computer, which led to more questions than answers. Lead investigator Lieutenant Weiss discovered that Josh was spending time on Yahoo Personals in the weeks before his disappearance, while another investigator identified 3 profiles Josh had used in law and sports-related chat rooms to much more personal chats. On October 28, 2002, Josh reported another Yahoo user for violating Yahoo's terms of service, and around that same time he had a nearly 30-minute phone call with an unknown person. Not long after, he deleted the Yahoo chat program completely from his computer, which was less than 2 weeks before he disappeared. Some authorities, such as Lieutenant Weiss, believe that Josh's computer activity, in particular his time on Yahoo Personals, might have contributed to his disappearance. In October 2022, nearly 20 years after his disappearance, the Stearns County Sheriff's Office released an update including a collage of 28 photos that were found on Josh's computer after his disappearance, and the authorities have not been able to identify these individuals who may be able to provide further information. Another discovery that was made was someone used Josh's computer to play music and skip songs between 11:52 p.m. and 12:32 a.m. on the night he disappeared. During a good part of this time, Josh was still at the party across campus, while Nick was at Katie's apartment. It was never determined who exactly accessed his computer during this time. In over 20 years since his disappearance, the theories have varied on what truly happened that night, from suicide, which authorities like Lieutenant Weiss seem to question, considering Josh's goals and plans, to taking a break from his life and willingly disappearing. However, many friends disagree with that, citing his credit cards were never used, no bank account or email activity following his disappearance, along with no evidence found on his computer of ever making such plans. Others point to the cases of abuse against staff at St. John's dating back to the 1960s, which made headlines in mid-2002, and how Josh may have been researching those cases and wanting to write a paper about what had happened, which may have contributed to his disappearance, while another theory was he was struck by a vehicle the night he vanished. According to one podcaster who has covered this story, pointed out to attempted abductions of men in the area around the time of Josh's disappearance, including a year prior where a male student was reportedly pulled into the bushes and his head held underwater. Other encounters over the weeks and months following Josh's disappearance include male students being approached or followed suspiciously late at night by multiple men, all the students managing to escape unharmed. As of November 2023, this case remains unsolved. Meanwhile, Josh's father has criticized the official investigation and how much time was spent focusing on the theory of drowning. He filed a lawsuit against the sheriff's department in an attempt to get them to release the case file so a private investigator could look at it. However, the lawsuit was unsuccessful. The case did garner new attention when it was covered last year on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries airing on Netflix. Hope remains that one day there will finally be answers on what happened to Josh. Let us know your theories on what happened to Josh. Thank you for watching this episode of Case Recap. To stay updated on future episodes, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel, and thank you for watching.